Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Stone, the podcast committed to helping you grow your e-commerce business. I'm Robert Rugged from Stuck and Stone, and today I'm joined by a social media strategist, Eric Z. Johnson from ericzjohnson.com, and we're going to show you how to reach out and connect with social media influencers for possible collaborations and partnerships, plus a few extras. That's coming up next on Behind the Stone. Eric, thanks for being on the show. We've got a great topic on reaching out to influencers to deep dive on. But before we get into it, tell me a little bit about you, your business, and take a moment to brag on yourself and your company.
Okay, sure. So I've had my social media marketing business now for 10 years. I just hit the 10-year mark.
Congrats.
In April. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's crazy how much things have changed, of course. Other than that, I have an MBA. My MBA taught me really how to do research. Didn't prepare me for the real world at all, right? Which actually is really good because what we're going to talk about a little later is research related to this topic. And then beyond that, I'm a course creator. I have a LinkedIn course that shows people how to have a phenomenal profile to reach out to leads, start conversations, and ultimately get clients. Then I have a second course, a smaller one called Conversational Referrals. And it focuses on how to generate your own warm referrals using only email and phone. And what's really cool is a lot of that, Robert, fits with today's theme of reaching out, starting conversations. And really one of my stances in business is that between where you are and where you want to be, you're only a certain number of conversations away from getting there.
That makes perfect sense. And it's really, really cool. So before we get into reaching out to influencers, what do you find most challenging about it?
I think for some business owners, one, it's not on the radar. Two, a lot of them, I would say it's uncharted territory. So they have a lot of fears about it. They have concerns, especially the big thing of, well, I don't know what to say, or what are the steps to get there? And then I'm sure they experience a lot of things, whether it could be imposter syndrome, who am I to reach out to this person with so many followers, all of that sort of thing.
It's funny that you brought that up. Actually, I'll link in the info card above an episode with Melissa Simonson from Ava Guru. It's how to overcome imposter syndrome.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. That's phenomenal. But really, a lot of the business owners do deal with that. And then probably the last thing related to reaching out to influencers would be they don't have a strategy. And actually, the strategy can be very, very simple. For some, it could even be off the cuff and just authentic in the moment. But ultimately, it comes down to starting a conversation, and we're going to get into that a bit later.
I'm excited to discuss it a little bit later. So how are you overcoming that challenge with your clients? Reaching out to influencers is a complicated process, the messaging and everything else. What are you guys doing over at your agency?
Yeah, one of the first things is committing to actually do it and then taking action. And you have to be okay with it. It might feel awkward at first. It might be a bit messy at first. And all of that is okay. That's fine. Actually, I'm in Vegas right now visiting my sister. And years ago, I went to this. I got back into the gym years ago, Robert, and I went to a boot camp class. And we're talking like after years of no exercise, Robert, right? Went to this boot camp class, which is an hour of running, jumping, and just tons of stuff. And I was the slowest person in the class. I mean, just if he said do 10 push-ups, I would do 2. If he said run, I would just walk quickly, right? And the point of how this relates is, after that class, I was sore for 3 days. I couldn't walk hardly. My calf muscles were just killing me. But I always remember that when I'm doing something new, that it is okay to feel like the slowest, like physically the slowest kid in the class or the worst athlete or whatever. But the great thing is you just differentiated yourself from everyone else who is not getting into the arena or going to the class. So you've just taken this really a pivotal step. And so I kind of like to bring that up, that ultimately, everyone wants a simple, proven 5-point formula to do this. But the thing is, sometimes that's disrespectful for you because you have your own brand and your own voice, and you need to honor that. So I really think with clients, it just comes down to taking action, learning what works best for them, and really to shift this topic here. We want to keep in mind that an influencer, I think in our heads, we elevate this like they're an influencer, right? And then I'm a little peon or whatever, however you frame it, right? And so, but this influencer is simply another business owner. And by definition, anyone in business wants to sell, they want to make profit. That's why businesses exist by definition. Now, even if they want to contribute to the world, donate, make a difference, all that, the definition of business is to make money. And so even if they have 30,000 followers, really just focus on the person who is the influencer. Don't think about the big numbers, all of that, because the goal is simply to reach out and see if they're open to having a short conversation with you.
Those are some awesome tips, Eric. So what kind of results are you getting for your clients at your agency?
My clients who have podcasts, they kind of have an easy entry point, of course, or my peak performance partner, she has a podcast. And so, of course, one of the great things about that is you can invite them to be a guest on your podcast. So this instantly, it gives them visibility, it gets them in front of a new audience. And so a step like that, of course, builds the relationship, just like you and I, we've had to plan this, we're emailing and, all that good stuff. It builds the relationship as you go. So that's kind of an easy in if you have a podcast. There's also, for like some clients, one of my clients was recently she was featured on Newsweek.com. And she's been on all major channels. And now this is her, Robert, like she's just a natural at this. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like she loves her topic. She always talks about it. You don't have to motivate her, anything like that. And so she's really, really cool. Even when people think of influencers on this call, I want your definition of influencer to be very broad. And I want you to think of it as someone who has influence, who is in front of your audience. So it could literally be like a contributing writer on Forbes.com. And you know that if you could get them to quote you, that would be great. And then you also know that you could put your little Forbes on your website, all your. So I would just people to have a bigger definition of influence and not just think about, the person who's always like, oh, la, 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 here and down there. But anyone with influence is really who you're looking for. And then like for me, for example, last year I was able to get featured on 2 websites. So I was a guest blogger, and then they shared all their social media channels. So that was somewhere between probably 50, they probably have between 70,000 and 100,000 fans, followers, all that across all their channels. So like for me, that was a huge win. And there were 2 platforms, 2 business owners that I really resonated with. Like we had similar values. There's really, like when you connect with people, that was present. And so that was a win for me personally, for my business.
That's really cool, Eric. So you had mentioned taking a broad approach to influencers, right? So, and really trying to separate those out into buckets, right? Like this influencer isn't just someone who has a huge following. It's just people who are in front of your audience, right? So somebody that had 1,000 followers could technically be an influencer, which I think we're going to talk about that later on in this episode. But just to kind of give somebody that's listening or watching right now a better understanding, a better idea versus somebody that has 1 million followers, right?
Exactly. Yeah, this is so smart what you're saying, because some people will instantly jump to, well, how am I going to reach out to them? They have 1 million followers. They probably have a team of not just independent contractors, but employees and all that stuff. And really, it could be 500 followers, 1,000, it could be 5,000, because you're really looking for, is their audience engaged with them? And is it the ideal audience that you would like to be in front of, or like your product to be in front of, that sort of thing. But you're absolutely right, because we don't really want them to go. Now they can, more power to them. If they can go from never doing this to hitting up someone with 1 million followers or more. But really, I think what's great is if they can kind of get their messaging down, learn how it works, and then just start elevating from there. Like, okay, we've got our product sponsored on, 5 channels with 10,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's jump up to 25. Who has 25 that's similar to these people? I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, and it makes it a lot easier for somebody to start reaching out to those certain thresholds and levels. Now we know who you are, what you do, what your company does, and how it gets results. So now let's take a deep dive into reaching out to influencers, which is the main topic we're going to talk about. So how do you do
it? Sure. Well, one of the first things to know is the why. Why are we doing this at all? Because like we talked about, this would feel a bit foreign and feel like uncharted territory, all that stuff. But we want to consider that reaching out to these influencers, a person with influence, that it can be a huge win-win for both. So you're not, for lack of better words, you're not just trying to get access them to pimp out their audience, right? Or just hawk your stuff in front of them, right? Usually when people take that approach, it'll fizzle out real quickly. Like on LinkedIn, when people say, oh, you're using the automated messages saying, oh, your profile was so impressive to me. And I usually respond back, oh, please tell me what impressed you specifically, because they didn't read my
another
profile.
Automated message.
Right, probably. Yeah. And so, with that, we want to stay focused on the win-win, knowing that both parties are able to generate money in an authentic, personable way. To whatever extent authenticity is important to you or whoever's reaching out. But, for some, there was actually just a study done on several Instagram influencers with 10,000 followers, and the majority of them were actually not monetizing their following. They were not making money from it, which was really shocking. I figured the percentage would be
a lot higher than it was.
Right, exactly. And so sometimes you might be coming along with product or actually even a service that helps their audience meet a need, fulfills a desire, maybe helps the buyer feel a certain way, all of those things. So for them, it's an easy way for them to, like as an affiliate, make money. Mm-hmm. Very simple for them. And then for you, the business owner, it's a great way for you to leverage and also to produce visibility for what you're selling. It can be the fast way, basically, to sell more. And with that, we might consider ROI. So, like in a given week, I can waste tons of hours, Robert, and make no money. I don't know about you, but like tons of hours, right? I can post on platforms that aren't relevant for me or my audience. I can waste time in Canva. I can edit things I shouldn't be editing, all that junk. But I really think a lot of business owners, if they will really do an evaluation of what are my highest ROI, what's the lowest ROI, what produces nothing, they're going to see, okay, you know what, I really have 3 or 5 hours here a week that I can invest into this. Because even just that one access point to a new influencer can open up a lot of doors. And we also want to remember, if you've worked with one person, when you go to someone similar, you can say, actually, we just wrapped up a great promotion with so-and-so over there, right? And so there's kind of this, there can be an upward spiral of influence, if you will.
So that makes perfect sense, Eric. And thank you for clarifying on that. So when you think about reaching out to influencers, what kind of tools or technology is required to manage this? Do you keep it simple, or is this something that's ultra complex? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, sure. What's great about this is crazy, obnoxiously simple, really, because you ideally want to first pick your 1 or 2 primary channels where you think it would be the most beneficial for you, your service, your product to be. And then from there, you would either be using direct messaging from the platform, or you would possibly be able to get their email from the platform. And even if their email is not listed on one platform, you might be able to go to another, like especially LinkedIn, and find their email there and reach out. So really, that's the first part. The second part is a Google Sheet or numbers if you're on Mac, Excel if you're on Microsoft. And then from there, you attract the names of the influencers and any relevant information. We're going to get into the list of what to put on that in a moment here. And then the third is some type of document with your message templates. Now, you're going to customize these a lot. So if you're used to just copy paste, change the first name, and that's it, that's probably not going to work so great here. Because the second an influencer, and this happens on LinkedIn as well, if they get that sensation of, you know what, you just copied and pasted me and you're trying to build a relationship with me, right? Or you're asking something and I just did a video about that yesterday. Or if they get that sensation of you're reaching out to me and you don't know who I am, what I sell, you haven't watched any of my videos, and you know what I mean? It's like, boom, just dead on arrival, done. You know, there's no entry point there. And I think most influencers, anyone who's been in business, they can, you know, kind of smell that or sense that a mile away. But yeah, very, very, very simple. You just got the platforms you use, email, some kind of tracking, usually type of a spreadsheet, and then your document with your templates. Now, your templates, of course, you would always put in the first name, tell why I'm reaching out. Or if you watch something recently, I just watched your video called da 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 da. You know, when they see that personalization that you've added, all of a sudden your message is here, and these other people reaching out to them are down here.
That I couldn't agree more. I can't tell you how many times that I get these cold emails or cold outreach messages, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like you didn't even put any effort into this at all. So,
Right.
you know, what type of viewpoint or mindset do you recommend whenever you reach out to these influencers?
Yeah, I think as a business owner, when you're starting this, uh, nobody likes hearing this. I don't think. You have to view this as an experiment, or you have to view this as an adventure, because you're really just creating it, figuring it out as you go. Now, there's prep and there's groundwork, which we talk about in just a moment here. But still, as you go, you're going to be adaptable. You're going to learn things like if they don't respond back, you don't take it personally. You just keep moving on and reaching out. But I would say the main viewpoint is you're experimenting so you can really get it dialed in to what works best for you and your I guess your niche, your area of influencers.
I couldn't agree more with you. So what's the biggest surprise that you've had in the last few months regarding reaching out and connecting with influencers for collaborations and partnerships? Or what's one of the foundational steps to get started?
The biggest foundation is do your research. This is what, I mean, we just cannot get away from this part. Now, the great thing about doing the research is if a business owner has a small team or an virtual assistant, as long as you tell them how to do it, they can do a lot of that groundwork for you. But, you know, with that, you would do your research on social media. You'd start making a list. You'd put in, like, for example, in a spreadsheet, Robert, we could put their name, their link, their handle, their number of followers, their topic or their theme, which would probably be similar or the same for almost all of them. Then especially want to look at their audience engagement. And you would probably invent kind of a scale in your mind. Is it average, maybe a 5? Are they getting tons of comments on everything, a 10? So the audience engagement is super important. And then you would look for evidence of, are they monetizing their brand or not? So if it were TikTok or Instagram, actually a lot of channels, if someone uses anything like a link in the bio page or Linktree, similar services, if you click over, you're instantly going to be able to see, if they have affiliates, you'll see the links and what they're selling there. Beyond that, if someone has 10,000 followers, for example, and no engagement, especially on Facebook or Instagram, that basically, most likely that means they purchase followers, and you just need to, just put no, just mark them off your list.
Put a red X in it.
There you go, big red X, absolutely. And the thing about research too is to remember that this is the part nobody wants to do. So when you do it, you do actually separate yourselves from any similar competitors you have, because you're coming to the game more informed with more knowledge, everything like that. Let me tell you a few more things related to this.
Yeah.
First, this year I've gotten into TikTok more. So if someone's here and they're really not into it, I would encourage you to check out TikTok a lot more. I've been really surprised. In a week, I learned more from TikTok than I learned from all the other channels combined. And you, of course, customize it. So if you want to learn marketing, sales, anything like that. And so I would definitely, that is worth pursuing. And one of the main things for people to know is that they want to connect the dots with these influencers, meaning who does it really make sense to reach out to? Like, is this relevant? Is it smart? Is it strategic? Everything like that. And with this, they're going to ask themselves a few questions like, does their brand or product category, does it naturally resonate with what I'm selling, what I'm promoting? Is their audience my ideal audience? Does their content match my brand's feel? Do they match my values, or at least do we share similar values? How good is their engagement, which we talked about earlier? Do they publish high quality content? Would you even want your brand associated with their brand, right? And, before we get into things like, what do you say? You want to engage with them. You don't want to be this person coming out of left field and, okay, I've never heard of you. Why are you emailing me? So you want to engage with them. And that generally will mean leave a thoughtful comment. So not just, wow, great points, way to go. Not the generic stuff, Robert, but what really stood out to me about this video was this, or thank you for bringing up what most people in your field are afraid to talk about, or any type of thoughtful, response like that will help. Now, before I get into actually, what do you say? Do you have any questions, Robert?
Talking about TikTok, actually, I covered this in a previous episode with ambassadors. I'm going to link that in the info card above. We talk about the algorithm, how it works, how to reach out, just various different things that we might not cover in this episode. So if anybody wants to check it out, I'll link that in the info card above. But, you bring up some really, 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 really great points because, TikTok is really informative. And, I learn more from TikTok than I learn from pretty much anywhere else. Yes, I watch a lot of YouTube, but at the same time, TikTok is short, bite-sizable. Our attention spans aren't very long. So it makes a lot of sense to be able to take an overwhelming amount of information and make it super simple and easy to where somebody can click through, follow through, go through your page, see everything that you're doing. So going back into, what you say, how are you reaching out to these influencers? What is that message?
Yeah, there's, I would say with these would be kind of a starting point to get ideas, because the context is the important thing. So we don't want to just do plug and play all the time. We really want to make it our own. But, with that, after we've warmed them up a bit, we've engaged, maybe they've liked something we wrote as a comment, maybe they commented on our comment, things like that. Something that would go in an email, or it could even be a direct message, would be anything like, would you be willing to explore being a brand ambassador? And here's why. If you will, let me know if you're interested, because I'd like to share why we think you'd be a phenomenal fit for this. That would be one. The other would be something like, would you be willing to have a conversation with us about sponsoring a post, a video, or a podcast episode? Now, that's literally saying, I'm going to pay you for this exposure. Some people, like, for example, if they've been monetizing, they may have actually a pricing guide, like, fill out this form, and if you want a shout out or post on whatever channel, if you're approved, here's how it works. Now, if they're newer, if they have an engaged audience, but it doesn't look like they're monetizing, it literally could be anything like, hey, Michael, I've been watching your channel for quite a while. I'm really enjoying your content. Have you ever considered monetizing your brand? If so, I have a few things I'd like to share just to see if you're willing to explore talking. When we do this, we're not
Low barrier of
actually.
entry. That's what it is.
Yes, right. Because we don't want to word vomit. Here's 5 paragraphs, Robert, why you're the perfect man for this. Da 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 da. We want to we're just basically asking, are you willing to explore the conversation? And with that, people don't, I really think that sort of disarms people. It's an easy out, like, I'm not willing to explore it right now just because I'm so committed, or can you come, reach out in a month? Or yes, I am. We're actually ending 2 promos this month and we're looking for something next month, right?
Mhm.
But that type of, are you willing to have a conversation, works really, really well. And then even another one here was, I've been following you for a while. I'm really impressed with, and then tell why you're impressed. And then literally saying, I have a product that I think might be a great one for you to share with your audience. If you've ever considered affiliate marketing, let me know if we can explore this together. And really, as long as you're being a good human, being authentic, being real, and they instantly see that connection, you're really starting out at a higher place with them.
You bring up some really good points there, Eric, and making it super simple and super easy, being authentic. That's honestly the best way to reach out to somebody. So do you have any suggestions for people that might be watching or listening right now who may need help with reaching out and connecting with influencers for collaborations?
Yeah, I think, well, first, I'm not like this usual course creator who goes into my course pitch right now. I don't have a course about this to sell you. A lot of it is really, really specific to who you are, to what your product or service does, and to who the influencer is. It's kind of like you're looking for this trifecta of things to really come together. Now, if someone gets started, even if you follow the tips we just covered above with creating a spreadsheet and just getting started, you're going to learn so much from that. And then if someone gets started and if you're finding it difficult, or you feel like something's off with the messaging, or are we in the right place, then whatever business owner is watching, they're definitely welcome to reach out to me for a one-on-one consulting call.
That's perfect, Eric. So how can someone contact you or get information to solve their problems with reaching out to influencers?
Yeah, they can go to ericzjohnson.com. They can contact me there. They can search Eric Z. Johnson on LinkedIn. Actually, anywhere you search Eric Z. Johnson, I should come up. And if someone's listening, they just want to email me directly right now, they could just reach out at hello@ericzjohnson.com.
Eric, those are some really, really, really awesome tips. Thank you so much for geeking out with me on influencer collaborations and partnerships. I'm looking forward to having you on another episode in the future.
All right. Thank you so much, Robert. It's been a blast. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Hey, it's not a problem. It's always a pleasure talking to one of my friends from back home.
That's right.
For more great tips on how to reach out and connect with influencers for collaborations, partnerships, be sure to reach out to Eric and his team at his website, where you'll be able to book a consulting call directly with Eric. You can get that by clicking the link in the description box below this video. So what's your next step? Reach out to Eric today, get a jump start on reaching out to influencers and increasing your marketing efforts. And if you really want to level up your e-commerce strategy, then watch this video next. It's called 5 Proven E-commerce Marketing Strategies to 10x Your Business. And you'll learn insider secrets from CEO Adam Weiler and Tanner Tozen on how to scale 7- and 8-figure e-commerce businesses. Just click the video you see on your screen now, and I'll see you there.